season is over. The Super Bowl has come and gone. It is now time for big-time basketball. There's a lot going on in the NBA. We got stuff going on in LA. We got stuff going on in Phoenix. We got stuff going on in Golden State. The Boston Celtics have become relevant. Philly is on the scene. There's so much to get into. Hell, it's first take. I might get into some baseball for crying out loud, some basketball, some more football. But I want y'all to remember one thing and one thing only. No matter who shows up, this is my show.
Time out here! Wednesdays, it is my show! Because Russo has showed up. And I'll tell you something right now. You can do NBA. You can do this Aaron Donald nonsense. Matthew Stafford. Now you have a challenger. 2 hours on Wednesday. I'll be raring to go!
He hasn't even started yet, and already he's so disrespectful.
I love you, but
First takes
disrespectful.
in the house.
All right.
Let's go.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo, welcome to the team,
Molly,
sir.
I'm delighted. Looking forward to debating our little pal over there. Little Stevie Dunn, Stevie A.
A lot of fun. I tweeted this gentleman, if the energy in the meeting was any indication, buckle up, folks, and I include myself in that. By the way, Jay Will also standing by to get at you as well.
I got you. Good morning, Molly.
Good morning.
I love the
I'm
outfit.
excellent.
I love
Thank
the
you
boots
very
are slim.
much.
You ain't got on the white
Oh
boots
my
like
goodness.
you did a few
The
weeks ago.
fashion
But
police
it's
too.
very, very
This
nice.
man.
Hey,
Does
Doggy,
look nice.
what's going on, Doggy boy?
Yes,
What's
sir.
going on, Doggy boy? How you doing?
How you doing, pal?
I'm doing great, man.
You look good. Thank you for having me, by the way, for your shows on Wednesdays. I appreciate it.
It is my honor and privilege.
Don't give me the honor nonsense.
I
You did a nice
apologize.
job.
It's not nonsense. Can I be respectful? I
right.
mean what I'm saying.
I guess
I'm
at 10 o'clock you can. I'll see you in about 10 minutes.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
but I just wanted to say it's wonderful having you on this show. You'll be on pretty much every Wednesday, and I want to apologize in advance because you know I love you. But what's going to happen to you on Wednesdays, I just want to extend my condolences to you and Mad Dog Nation. It's a different day on Wednesday mornings. Y'all in trouble. That's all I want to say.
Oh, my God.
That's all I want to say.
Gentlemen,
No,
let's
right.
get to
go.
it.
Let's
okay?
get to it. Fire away.
Let's begin. So right after we went off the air yesterday with the Ben Simmons press conference, the man he was traded for, James Harden, at the podium in Philly. The Sixers looking forward to Harden's debut. Did you see this, guys? After a 48-point beatdown from the Celtics. Take a listen.
It's a time where I needed to be, around the guys that I know that want to win and know that they are willing to do whatever it takes to win. And the structure here is unbelievable. That's the goal, man. That's the goal. Like Daryl said, the opportunity, the window is now. Joel is playing the best he's ever played. So my job is to come out there and help him and help the entire team win the championship this year and years going forward.
Boy, he is tough to take. I mean, how many teams does he want to play for in the last couple of years? He bailed himself out of Houston because he didn't like the idea that they could no longer win after they did everything for him, including Westbrook, and gave him all that money. Then he goes to the Nets because he felt he could, help with Durant. Didn't like the way it finished up with Kyrie with the vaccination. Durant's hurt, so he says, you know what? Let me get myself out of here. His buddy GM is down in Philadelphia, so he figures he can work with Murray and they can have a nice little kumbaya. Here's the bottom line about Harden.
Okay.
Can you play in an NBA final?
Yeah.
He did once, he was bad. Can he make a big play and do some nice things in a conference final?
Yeah.
Do we all forget about Game 7 against Golden State when he couldn't throw the ball in the ocean? 2 for 13 from 3 when the Warriors won the Game 7 in Houston. Harden's a little tough to take. It got to be fair, a little tough to take. And I'm very concerned about him in Philly because when things get a little tough, he's got a history now of bailing. He bailed on you. Jerry West bailed on the Lakers when they lost the Celtics year after year.
Oh,
did
God.
Did Bird bail? I mean, Durant bailed, but at least he helped Golden State win a championship, for crying out loud.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little rough.
So you don't
James.
trust him on
I
the court,
wouldn't
in the
trust Harden as
playoffs,
far as
or
I can-
loyalty as a team? So
I do not trust. First of all, I don't like his game in a big spot, and I don't trust him when things get a little dangerous, how he is going to respond. So I am down on Harden.
Couple of things. First of all, rules of the game on First Take.
What?
Molly is the matriarch of the show. You have to let her ask the question first.
Yeah.
You did not let her ask
I
the
did
question.
jump in. I apologize.
You jumped in.
Do
You
not
jumped in.
do
You
not
jumped in.
apologize.
I
He was enthusiastic and he was ready to
You
go.
jumped in, okay? That's number one.
Christopher, I'm
Number
good.
two, I'm the guy you got to debate. You're looking at her. She's much better to look at than me, but you're looking at her as if that's the one.
so you're gonna tell me Harden's great
You got
now?
to look at me, okay? I'm the person that you got to debate with. That's number two.
The rules are out of the way now.
The rules, Mad Dog, the rules. Here's the deal. Did you know that James Harden is a career 28-point-per-game scorer in the playoffs?
I give you a million guys like that.
So we're talking about a guy. Now, mind you, he's shooting 42% from the field. He's shooting like 32% from three-point range. Those numbers are down from what he does in the regular season, no doubt. And you can point to a multitude of times against the Spurs, against the against the Golden State Warriors.
More than once.
Okay, there was a time. I remember when the Clippers lost a huge lead. They had an opportunity with Lob City with CP3, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan to get to the conference finals. They had a Game 6 at the Staples Center at the time before it became Crypto.com Arena or whatever the hell it is. Okay, and Houston came back from that in that game with Harden on the bench, with Dwight Howard and these boys on the court. So I understand that there are times where James Harden has come up smaller than what we expect from him in the postseason. I'm not denying that. But when we think about what we're asking here, can you rely on Harden for a deep playoff run? I would say yes. And let me tell you why I would say yes. Number one, when has Harden ever had a dude like Embiid to ball with? It's never happened. We understand the greatness of CP3. By the way, miracle has happened. CP3 has gotten even better than he was when he was on Houston. He's better now on Phoenix. Years later, at 36 years of age, okay? Russell Westbrook, we know what a Herculean athlete he is, but in the same breath, of course, that was problematic, those two together, because they both need the ball. We understand that Dwight Howard was never the answer. I like Dwight Howard, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, shot blocking, whatever, but when he went to Houston, he thought that he was going to be an offensive player. No, you're not better than James Harden on the offensive side of the ball. This situation in Philadelphia is the best that Harden has ever had in terms of playing with Joel Embiid, who is my vote for league MVP if the season were to end today. I would remind you again, Harden's averaging 28 a game on 42% shooting. It's not like the dude is a scrub and he wets the bed and can't produce. And when you look at that, then we take into account the Eastern Conference. Okay, you've got Brooklyn, you've got Milwaukee, you've got Miami. Philadelphia is right there in the mix. Last night's massacre at the hands of the Boston Celtics, notwithstanding, and at some point we'll have to talk about the Boston Celtics because they have really stepped it up. All I'm saying to you is James Harden is still one of the most prolific offensive players this game has ever seen. Let's not act like we get to ignore that.
What, did we give him a pass last year because he had a bad hamstring in Game 7 against Milwaukee, 5 out of 17 from the field?
Absolutely do.
We give him a pass.
Last year, not the others.
We give him a pass.
Last year, yes.
So when you,
I don't hold anything.
How about the old line, when you're injured, don't play. When you play, don't injure. He played. I'm supposed to evaluate his injury?
Let me answer that question for you. Let me answer that question because, see, I'm one of the millions that listen to Mad Dog.
You do. You know me pretty well.
So I've heard the things that you said. I will remind you, he wasn't supposed to play. Kyrie went down. Kyrie messed up his ankle in Milwaukee, was not available for action.
I understand.
And they basically said, Harden, whatever.
So he gets a pass in Game 7?
Absolutely.
He gets a complete pass?
Absolutely. Complete pass in
How
Game 7.
about bailing out on Durant? Doesn't that bother you?
Bailing out on Durant?
Yeah, this year.
Bailing out.
Well, Durant's going to come back and play. Durant's the best player in the league.
Excuse me. First of all, we're not holding Durant accountable in that regard. We know that Durant is the best player in the world. Is when he's healthy, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, no question about it. I agree with you on that.
He's the best player in the world.
He's better than LeBron right now.
Yeah, without question.
100%.
No disrespect to LeBron, but Durant is on another level.
That is the best question. Why don't you hold that against him?
Because when I'm looking at the Brooklyn Nets situation, it's been dysfunction from day one. Remember, Kyrie goes to Brooklyn. They're supposed to go to the New York Knicks. Kyrie convinces KD, let's go to Brooklyn. Number two, Kyrie is on the record saying, we don't really need a coach, okay? Which is why you could go and hire a Steve Nash, who's never had any coaching experience.
And they fired Atkins, who didn't deserve it.
That's right, who did not deserve it. And don't get me wrong, I like Steve Nash a lot, and I think Steve Nash has a promising future, but the fact of the matter is he never coached on any level before he was hired as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. So you take that into consideration, and then all the stuff that has transpired since the pandemic has taken fold. James Harden didn't come here for that. He didn't come here for that.
Well, what's the excuse about bailing out on Houston? What's the excuse there? They gave him everything he wanted and he bailed. How do you act like a jerk to do it? Doesn't that bother you?
Yes, it does. But here's the thing, Mad Dog. Daryl Morey abruptly walked out the door. Okay? Listen, I got a lot of love for Tillman Fertitta, the owner for the Houston Rockets. And definitely James Harden could get whatever he wants. We all understand that. But you had your window. The window had closed. And Daryl Morey walked out the door. Right. Harden wanted to walk out the door with them. Initially, they said no. how he handled his.
It was awful. But that shows you character.
All right.
In a big game 7, that's the sort of thing you're dealing with.
What's up with all the emotion? What's up with all the emotion? The character thing that you keep bringing up. I can bring up character stuff about GMs, coaches, owners.
He's a player.
And so he's
They're not playing.
So he's supposed to be held to a different standard? He's supposed to be held
Yes, of course. He's making $40 million a year.
So what? The point is that you get the assets for him. He didn't want to be in Houston no more. Okay, fine. He goes to Brooklyn. He shows up. He's ready to ball. Kyrie.
But Durant's there. He's not playing with their slouch. He's got Durant. He's going to come back and play.
Excuse me.
He can win a championship with Durant. Durant's better than Embiid.
Excuse me. But Durant is riding with Kyrie. So he said, okay, Daryl Morey's in Philadelphia. That's my man. I see that he's the president of basketball operations. Right. He has more control over the situation. That's a better environment. And by the way, in fairness to Harden, he always wanted to go to Philly. The issue is that Daryl Morey had abruptly left the Houston Rockets. So you know the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, they were going to chain to Philadelphia.
They weren't going to do business with Philadelphia at that particular moment in time. So he had no choice.
I understand. But if you are on this level of a player and you want to be considered one of the great guards in the history of the NBA, and you give me the
he ain't worried about that.
28
He worried about the chip.
But here's the thing. You have to play well in those games which define greatness.
Okay.
And Harden has not done that in his career.
He ain't having Embiid either.
Well, he had good players.
He had good players, but he didn't have Joel Embiid.
He was 12 for 29 in Game 7 against Golden State in his building with a lead. Get the job done. Play in the final. Win a conference final.
Okay. Calm.
You got to give him. You want to put him on this level before he's even played the final.
I didn't say put him on any level. What I'm saying is, do I believe that the brother can have a formidable postseason? I'm not talking legacy here. I didn't absolve him from some things that you pointed out outside of last year. He gets a complete pass from last year. But every year before that, when he messed up in the playoffs, no, I'm not absolving him from that. But even as we sit here, we say, yo, James Harden could do better in the postseason. The brother averages 28, 7, and 5 on 42% shooting, 32% from three-point range. I'm sorry, I've seen significantly worse. Now, he's got to step up and take it to another level. But he's playing with Joel Embiid. As far as I'm concerned, him and Jokic, the best two big men in basketball.
That was a great point. He had Kevin Durant.
He had a 3-2 lead on Golden State. Thank you,
No, Stephen A., it's true. You always talk about Kevin Durant's the best player in the league.
He's the best in the world.
And if you're going to hold it against Kyrie for letting him down, I mean, James Harden.
Well, you can say that, but what I'm saying to you is, if you're Harden and you see that those two brothers are thick as thieves and you have an issue with Kyrie, and no matter what, KD gonna side with Kyrie, that's not a situation you want to be in.
Three's a crowd. I get it. All right.
Three's a crowd. All right. I like that. That works for me.
Okay, we'll leave it on that note. Speaking of three's a crowd, we got to bring someone else in here. Jay Williams.
What's he doing it? Why is he here?
Jay, get out here. So yesterday, we took the Ben Simmons press conference live, but we only had a few minutes to unpack a whole lot. And apparently, Jay had some issues with Mr. Stephen A.
What else is new?
Here's a condensed version. Then we'll really hash it out together like a family.
For me, it was just making sure mentally I was right to get out there and play again. So that's something I've been, dealing with. And it wasn't about the fans or coaches or comments made by anybody. It was just a personal thing for me. That was earlier than, that series or even that season that I was dealing with. And that organization knew that. So it was something that, I continue to deal with. And, I'm getting there and getting to the right place to, get back on the floor.
You guys do have a game in Philly in a couple of weeks. Do you think you can be ready for that? Physically, mentally, I imagine it's a pretty.
I hope so.
Okay, Stephen A., for the folks that missed us yesterday, how did Ben Simmons come across in this press conference the first time speaking since the trade?
First of all, I think it's important to point this out.
Hi, Jay Williams, by the way.
I'm very pleased with the blaze of the look. It's very impressive. I have to confess, it's very impressive. I mean, I do like the blazer and the tie right there. That works. I mean, usually you got the hoodies on and I'm trying to coach you how to dress. Not today. That's very good. Let me get that out the way. Secondly, let's get to the bigger point. I think Ben Simmons yesterday came across as ill-prepared for the press conference. All right? And I apologize to some people out there in Ben Simmons' camp. I was supposed to call y'all back. I've been busy. That's why I didn't call y'all back. It's my apology. I dropped the ball because I was supposed to call them back and let them know. This is how I feel and what. Damn it, that's why. But anyway, Ben Simmons came across as ill-prepared. He said he had mental health issues, and in the same graph, he said it wasn't really about that. I had personal issues. Well, that's not the same thing. And because that's not the same thing, you basically said that, you know, and you was talking out of both sides of your mouth. It wasn't nothing against teammates, nothing against coaches, nothing against the city of Philadelphia, none of that. But then you pointed to personal things that were happening and things that you were experiencing, and it just made you want to leave. Well, which one is it? So there was some inconsistencies there, particularly when you're trying to get your money back, some of the money they kept from you because you weren't playing basketball. So I think on that level, it didn't look great, but I didn't blame him for it. I was just saying, he's a young kid, okay? He hasn't been in this position before. I thought that he came across as ill-prepared, talking out of both sides of his mouth, and more importantly than anything else, I think this is important to say. Mental health is a very, very serious issue in this day and age in our society. We understand that. Now more so than ever, we become more and more enlightened about the issue every single day. There are a whole bunch of people that don't believe a damn thing that he's saying about mental health issues. Now, people have their opinions. We don't know. We don't know. But you got people that looked at him yesterday and were like, the only reason he ain't playing is because he wants to make sure he adds credence to this issue, because he knows if he immediately comes out there and plays, the minute he gets traded from Philadelphia, people will automatically point to, oh, you damn sure can't be believed now about the mental health issue, and then he'll get excoriated because of that. All I'm saying is, considering the issue and the sensitivity of the issue that we were all discussing over the last few months, Jay, Mad Dog, about Ben Simmons, I would have liked to see him more polished for that interview yesterday, but it's not his fault. I think the people who were assigned to prep him for that interview, for the press conference, did a poor job.
100%. And I don't argue with you at all here from that standpoint. Is you got to trust him on the mental health, and I'm not sure if you can trust him on a mental health. All of a sudden, he couldn't make free throws against Atlanta in Game 7. He couldn't make shots. He gets benched in big situations. And, you know, Doc Rivers said we got to work on this in the summertime, and Bede wasn't in love, and now we have mental health issues. So the coincidence is a little odd. You got to be fair. Is a little odd. As far as him as a player is concerned, I do think with the Nets, assuming Kyrie plays with this vaccination, maybe by, you know, April, you'll be able to play here in Brooklyn without. I think he'll fit perfectly. He just have to score. When he has to score and he has to make some free throws and shoot some threes, open up the floor a little bit, and you're the expert, not me. You played. He is not. I don't like him on. I wouldn't want him on my team. But if he's got another player who can score in big spots and he can do what he does well, lead the break, rebound, play defense, sort of be a third wheel, I think it's a good trade for the Nets. But I don't know what the Kyrie Irving scenario is. But here's a guy in a big spot. If I was a coach, I would have trouble trusting, because he is not going to put the ball in the basket with 5-6 minutes to go when your season's on the line. And I don't know, Jay, in this day and age in the NBA, in all days, if you can't score when they need a basket and your ball's in your hands constantly, I think that's a major problem.
It's good to rock out with you for first time, man.
Yeah,
that's really good. First time this is happening.
First time.
Yeah, now to you.
Yes.
Ben Simmons gets paid millions of dollars to put the ball in the bucket, or maybe not to put the ball in the bucket.
Right.
Right? Ben Simmons does not get paid millions of dollars like us to articulate his thoughts properly all the time.
That's true.
He is not a politician. He is not an orator. That is not what he practices. And I think to use terms like ill-prepared for somebody that is discussing any mental issue at all, I think diminishes what somebody has to deal with. Now, I understand that people can say they don't believe, whether that's true or not. But you know what? It's like, here, I'll give you an example. If Mad Dog were to tear his ACL, I've had a complete knee dislocation. That means I tore every ligament in my leg, in my knee. I wouldn't dare look at Mad Dog and be like, you're complaining about your ACL? For him, in his life, that may be the worst thing that's ever happened to him. I can't diminish that because I've had something more extreme happen to me. So I feel like we have to approach the conversation with Ben Simmons with one key word: grace. I think everybody handles adversity differently. Kobe Bryant may have thrived in a situation like that. Ben Simmons being 25 years young, he may not have thrived. And I'll give you an example, because I understand a little bit of the scenario without divulging too much.
Sure.
Everybody has different work environment issues. I think some people, how they handle Stephen A., when somebody looks at you and they say something to your face, but then they go behind your back and they feel like you may get backstabbed, everybody handles that differently. That's true. Because it almost seemed intentional that Ben Simmons did not shoot the ball in these games. It almost seemed a little bit intentional. Okay. Now, I will tell you how much Ben Simmons loves hoops, and this, to me, allows me to understand how I think it's something a little bit deeper than people are trying to say it's just a surface thing because he just doesn't want to be there. Ben Simmons loves his country. Now, KD destroyed Milwaukee, even though they lost, then went on to go play USA basketball, right? Got them to become champs, did extremely well. Ben Simmons didn't go play for Team Australia. That's his country. He loves him. He always talks about that. Every time I talk to him, he disappeared. Ben Simmons got fined. Now he's trying to fight to get his fine money back to a degree. But I think when we discuss these type of issues, it's very important that we come at it not with saying, I'm trying to diminish you, or I'm trying to say you're ill-prepared about something, but we actually kind of approach it with some white gloves, man, because we have to be a little bit delicate because everybody gets affected differently. Okay. And that's how I feel about it.
Okay. I respect where you're coming from. I don't totally disagree. That's why when it came to Ben Simmons, I pointed to people who prepped him for the interview as opposed to himself because he is young, inexperienced, and I think that you got to dot your I's and cross your T's. Why do I feel that way? Because some things are bigger than you, and some things ain't about you. Everything that you just said, everything that you just articulated made a lot of sense for Ben Simmons. But there are people out there that will look at Jay Williams and say, Jay, what if he was lying? What if he used this as an excuse just to make sure he didn't have to play for the Philadelphia 76ers anymore while ensuring that he's still able to get his money? When they ask those questions, now, let me finish. Okay. Because, again, we're trying to be delicate. We're trying to display grace in acknowledging that he says that's an issue. That's a very, very big deal. But you have people out there who have suffered. I believe it was one guy, I forgot his name, he was on radio in New York, and he was very, very honest, hosting radio, I forgot where it was, in New York City, and he was very, very honest and forthcoming about his bouts with depression and mental health issues. And he took issue with Ben Simmons, saying that's what he was going through and highlighted point by point some of the things that he would challenge. What I'm saying is, as somebody, whether you know how I was when my mother died or you and others and the kind of things that we've gone through emotionally, at the end of the day, when you publicize what your bout is and use that as justification for doing what some people would term as unprofessional, then all of a sudden you've taken your business and you've made it other people's business because in their eyes, you're comparing your plight to what they're doing. And as a result, now they're going to dissect the legitimacy of your claims. And if they discover in their mind that it's illegitimate, then not only are they upset at you because of what you may have deceived them about, what they're saying is you have minimized and diluted the importance and the significance of a mental health issue. And so when people look at Ben Simmons right now, that's what they're doing. They're saying to themselves, this whole mental health issue that everybody that has been percolating throughout our society for quite some time over the last few years, what you have done is you have minimized that, and they're going to have a problem with you because they're going to think you're making their lives harder because when they go to work and they try to sit up there and say they have this issue and it's real, somebody's going to look at a situation like that to minimize what they're saying that their problem is. Those are the kind of things that you have to pay attention to. You're talking about grace. And my response to that would be, fair enough. Grace to whom?
So let's talk about the context of the matter, because I believe that.
But and Doug, you chime in now.
I'm sorry, yeah.
No, I think, Steve, you have to trust Ben Simmons
Yes.
on the mental health issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I do. I don't know if Steve does.
I'm not sure.
It's too coincidental to me. I mean, he had a bad postseason. Doc Rivers said some things. Embiid said some things. And all of a sudden, he wants out of Philadelphia, wants to make sure he gets his money. What's the best way to do it? Have the agent figure out something with mental health issues. Shows up in Brooklyn. He's going to be ready to play in 2 weeks.
So
that's a little weird.
Hey, let me say one thing in defense of Ben Simmons. He did say he was having these mental health issues prior to the postseason and that the team was aware. And he did discuss the skepticism about his mental health. And he said, folks should be happy that I'm smiling because I was dealing with some very dark days. So just to give his side, he said this started way before the postseason.
Before Jay chimes in, it's very, very important to say You're absolutely right about that. That's exactly what Ben Simmons says. And my response when Molly said that, then somebody's lying. Because the Sixers swear up and down that they never heard anything about mental health until the fall.
That's fine.
They're saying, his camp is saying,
My
they
job
told
is
him that
to share both sides.
the minute the playoffs were over.
I understand
So
the two sides of the story. I get it.
somebody's lying.
Yep.
That's somebody's
We
lying.
just wanna
Somebody's lying.
present
No, no, I'm saying-
Maybe this wasn't articulated.
No. What I'm
properly,
saying
'cause
is,
everybody has different ways how they do
if
it.
Ben Simmons' camp says, we said this to the Sixers the second the playoffs were over, and the Sixers are saying, we never heard a word
Then
until the
somebody's
fall,
lying.
somebody's lying.
Yeah.
That's all I said.
I do want to
That's
go
all I
back to
said.
another point. I think, Mad Dog, there are different ways to qualify what mental health is, right? So I think there's some things that are extreme. I think there's some things that may be less extreme to other people that are to other people, right? I think one of the things as it relates to Ben is that, look, if you had a job where you're making millions of dollars and you hated what you did every single day, a lot of Americans out there that hate what they do.
Or who they work for.
Or who they work for, but they have to do it to make ends meet. If they were getting paid that certain amount of money and they felt like, hey, I actually can exercise my right to remove myself away from a situation that I think, even though it may not feel that way to you, but to me, I'm in it every damn day. I work with these people every day.
And it's a
I have to
healthy
see them every day.
response. Yeah.
I have to deal with their BS every day. Them lying to me. Them looking at me. How you doing? You don't really care about how I'm doing. But I can remove myself away from that situation. I think a lot of people would.
Hold on.
I think a lot of people
Doggy,
would.
I got him. Jay Williams. I completely appreciate what you're saying, more than you would ever know. Because the last person on earth that gets to say that is you. And I'm going to tell you why. Sitting in that seat months ago, Doggy, you might have missed this episode. I know you didn't, Molly. What did Jay Williams say? Kyrie Irving. He was honest. He was forthcoming. He stated exactly what he felt and why. Give him credit, Stephen A. He's straight up front of what have you. What people are accusing Ben Simmons of. And I'm not accusing him that. Doggy's not accusing him that. But what people are accusing Ben Simmons of is the fact that he may not have been honest and forthcoming about what's really bothering him. And he just went the broad issue of mental health issues when, in fact, you had a problem with the Sixers organization. Because remember, if he says, I don't want to play for the Sixers, he can't get his money. But if you say mental health, that's a bigger issue, and they can't take his money. So you got a situation where people will look at him with a raised eyebrow with some level of cynicism. Whereas with Kyrie, you may like it, you may hate it, you may not care. But he was honest. But he was but he was honest. I'm only pointing to you because you said, wait a minute, Kyrie was open and honest. Kyrie was open and honest. That's what you said. Now Ben Simmons, a lot of millions of people are like, no, he wasn't honest. And if that's the case, now you got an explanation for that too?
So he wasn't honest because he didn't.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I don't believe. I'm not going
So it's
there.
speculation.
Yeah. No.
You're saying he didn't divulge the
I'm
details
saying
of what
he
was
didn't
actually
divulge the
occurring
details,
with the mental
but people
illness?
feel the way that they feel.
Okay,
and so that's what we're pointing to. What do you think it's going to be like when he goes to
I
Philly?
understand. There's a lot of times in my life that I think about if I were to really divulge how I feel, what the repercussions would be.
Right. Yeah.
That's honest.
Yeah.
Like it's happened with jobs I had, like with people I've done business with. I'm like, if I
Yeah.
say that, then what can happen? Then this goes down to that. Then I could lose my. I'm not saying that.
Right. I agree.
I'm not saying that.
I agree.
At the end of the day, like,
but my only point is you applauded Kyrie for the honesty, but Ben Simmons has taken a different approach in a lot of people's eyes, and now you're finding rationale to explain that away.
No, I'm not finding rationale.
That's not what you're doing?
No, like I said to you before, I'm coming to the conversation with Grace. Ben Simmons is 25 years young, Stephen A. He's 25 years young. When I look at Kyrie, Kyrie's spoken out before. I mean, we've gotten on him about multiple things we haven't agreed about. Kyrie's very outspoken. I've seen Ben crawl away and hide in a corner this whole time. I haven't heard him speak publicly.
I am not speaking about Ben Simmons. I'm speaking about you.
What about me?
Your position is different with Ben Simmons.
Well, they're two different people.
Yeah, but
They're
the
two different
mandate, I'm
circumstances.
talking about the principled mandate you came from.
See, this is what happens.
That's what I'm saying.
This is what happens.
You came from a principled position
tough
with
to argue.
Kyrie.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He just keeps doubling and tripling down. It doesn't mean he's right.
You came from a principled position with Kyrie, and now you come from a position of grace. You come from a position of grace.
What's my principal position with Kyrie?
He was honest.
Okay.
He was honest.
Yes.
So in other words,
I've got grace for Kyrie too, by the way.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is you didn't bring up grace. You brought up honesty and how
how that's such a big thing to applaud. And I'm not disagreeing with you because I agree with you about Kyrie with that. He was honest. And by the way, I don't like the fact that New York has a mandate that doesn't allow Kyrie Irving to play, but visitors can come and play in the Barclays Center.
That's fair.
By the way, I've been saying that.
By the way,
I believe Kyrie Irving should be allowed to play at the Barclays Center.
by the way, Adam Silver brought that up with Greeny this morning.
That's right.
So the commissioner is not happy about that as well.
Exactly.
The inconsistency
I totally
in
agree
that.
with that. You get the shot or whatever, but the point is he should be allowed to play at the Barclays Center if visitors are allowed to come and play at the Barclays Center.
Gentlemen, we have a minute and a half left. We're going to come back to this later, so I want to make sure any final points.
Go ahead, I'll give you the floor. Yeah, I know you want to make a final point. I don't want to.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that, look, I would have handled things differently, but I'm also a 40-year-old grown man. I've had different life experiences. All I'm saying is I get how people
can handle the situation differently at age 20, but go ahead.
Actually, no, I didn't handle my situation that well at 20.
Okay.
Actually, I became addicted. I suffered from depression. Okay. I went down a very dark alleyway, and I didn't communicate, and I lied a lot about how I felt because I thought I wanted to be something else to people.
You would know.
And I didn't know how to handle talking to people about who I was because I was still trying to find out who I was.
Fair
So there's a part of me that I understand everybody else's angle that they're coming at it from, and I get how it looks from the outside looking in. Yeah. But, like, we don't know what's really going on. And could it have been hijacked? There's a possibility. I understand that. But when I see the actions of knowing who Ben is, I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. And I don't know.
That's all.
I don't know either. I honestly don't know.
There's not one person in that Philadelphia franchise who has confirmed that Ben Simmons told them last year that he was suffering.
Not one.
Not one.
Not one.
Not one person. Not one player.
Not one person.
Not one trainer. Not one marketing person.
Nobody said that he mentioned it before. And again, they could be, because, you know, organizations do come together now, and they could be lying. I want to be very, very clear. I don't know who's selling the truth. I'm not accusing Ben Simmons of lying. I'm not accusing. I don't know. All I know is that Ben Simmons' camp got one story. The Sixers have another. And it is diametrically opposed. Somebody's lying. Somebody's lying. And I don't know who.
Sometimes there's three sides to a story.
Fair.
His, hers, and the truth. All right, we will leave it there. Riveting conversation. I'm just saying, there's another option. Right. It could be both sides. Another season, another. Christopher?
Yeah.
What's holding, it's a multi-million-dollar question, billion-dollar question. What's holding the Cowboys back?
I think there's three things for the Cowboys. Okay. I think the owner gets in the way too much. They've won four playoff games in the last 30 years after Jimmy and Barry Switzer. Mm-hmm. I don't want owners doing press conferences after the game right outside the locker room. I don't want owners doing radio shows on Monday afternoon giving me the state of the Cowboys. So I think the owner gets in the way. That's number one. Okay. Mike McCarthy, listen, a nice man, and he won a Super Bowl, fair. But were you happy with Mike McCarthy if you're a Cowboy fan this year with the penalties throughout the whole season that was never corrected? Mm-hmm. And then the 14 penalties, of course, in the playoff game against San Francisco. Basic mistakes. Do they drill properly? You think Lombardi is going to put up with that? You think Jimmy Johnson's going to put up with it? How about Belichick? You think he's going to allow a team to commit 14 penalties in a playoff game? Mm-hmm. If they committed penalties all season long, he'd get that corrected. But number three, and this is a bigger issue, I'm not as high in this quarterback as everybody else is.
What?
Everybody thinks that because he's on the Dallas Cowboys, you get overrated. Well, he's a Cowboy. He's wearing a star. He's Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was not good against San Francisco. Dak Prescott didn't know the rule on making sure the umpire handled the ball before the last play of the game when he ran out of time. He didn't know the rule. Bottom line is, now you can blame that on McCarthy, but the quarterback did not know the rule that the umpire's got to touch the ball and place it down before you go out there and run another play. And that's why they ran out of time. Give me a game on the road that Dak Prescott went out there and played great football in a postseason spot. I'll give you a game a couple years. Obviously, I don't know if he's not as good as Stafford. He's not as good as Mahomes. He's not as good as Rodgers. I mean, he maybe, if I pushed it, maybe he's around 10 as far as the NFL quarterbacks are concerned, best quarterbacks in the league.
That is ridiculous.
Pushed it.
That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I mean, come on, man.
All right. Do the math. What quarterbacks? Let me hear.
53 and 32 as a starting quarterback in the National Football League, okay? Started from day one. His first playoff game against Green Bay, they lost 34-31.
Played pretty well.
Over 300
yards. He
played pretty well. I mean, that throw by Aaron Rodgers was one of the spectacular throws.
Fair.
Don't give me fair. I'm talking now. Don't give me fair. Don't stop the momentum. I'm coming, okay? The fact of the matter is, his first playoff game, he showed up against Aaron freaking Rodgers, okay? And if Aaron Rodgers doesn't make that beautiful one of the all-time great throws that we've seen down the left sideline where the cat just tap dance inbounds and caught that pass to set up the game-winning field goal. 34-31, Green Bay wins that game. We're talking about Dak in a much different light. Now, I understand. Win against the Rams in the playoffs wasn't great. We know what just happened with the 49ers. Wasn't great. I get all of that. The game at Green Bay, okay? We just saw like that. I'm sorry, not at Green Bay, because that was a BCL.
In Philly, a couple years ago, last game of the year.
Okay, we get all of that. Here's my point. 53-32. Like 163 touchdowns and just 50 interceptions. All right. Okay. A quarterback rating of 98. Now I get the 1-3 playoff record, but he is playing for Mike McCarthy. Okay, he is playing for Jerry Jones. You brought up two individuals that have significant cachet in terms of getting in the way. They're in position to get in the way. You got guys, CeeDee Lamb didn't show up. Okay, Amari Cooper didn't get open. Ezekiel Elliott has nosedived. His level of production has diminished a great deal.
He played poorly against San Francisco. Be fair.
Listen. Again, he did. But here's what I'm saying to you. When I look at the quarterbacks in the National, I can't believe you got me defending the Dallas Cowboys. This is a bad day for me, bad day. But here's the deal. I got to do it anyway.
Brady's gone. We know who Rodgers is. We know who Patrick Mahomes is. Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert.
4.
Okay.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, definitely. We got Matthew Stafford because he's got a Super Bowl.
That's 6 right there without even. Russell Wilson.
Okay.
Russell Wilson.
You know what? Hey, listen. Russell Wilson's been struggling the last couple of years.
He's not as good as Russell Wilson. That's not fair.
I'm not saying he's as good as Russell Wilson, but I'm just saying we brought up some big-time quarterbacks. There's no doubt. But Dak Prescott is definitely a top 10 quarterback. I would say top 8.
We're at 7 right now.
I would say
how is he a top 8? I even think about it, and he's 8th. He's not any better than the other 7 guys you just named.
Excuse me, I didn't say that. But what I'm saying to you is this: we haven't seen enough from Justin Herbert yet. I love him. I love him.
He's not as good as Herbert.
Excuse me.
That's not fair.
The man has that. Excuse me. Dak Prescott has had some big-time games in the regular season, too. We ain't seen Justin Herbert in the playoffs yet. Can the man throw a pass in the playoffs first? I love Justin Herbert. I believe in him. But can he throw a pass in the playoffs first before you're going to condemn Dak Prescott for his playoff performance? Can he do that?
Worst division in football is what?
The NFC least, no doubt.
Okay. Does he have 6 games against the NFC East? Does he have 6 games against that division all year?
That's true.
You don't think that helps him?
I think that definitely helps him.
But look at the teams he beat this year. Carolina. I mean, he beat terrible football teams.
We're talking about his performance because we could point to a lot of things that the Cowboys do wrong that has assisted in them losing games. When they lost the opener to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. Was that his fault?
No.
Exactly. And we could point to a lot of things that ain't Dak Prescott's fault. But ultimately, he's the quarterback, and I understand that. All I'm trying to tell you is this. Don't tell me he's not easily a top 10 quarterback.
No, we need to go back to that list because I need to challenge you because you haven't gotten to 10 yet,
I will get to 10.
So you have Burrow, Herbert, Rodgers, Stafford. I crossed out Brady, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson.
That's 7.
Who else is in there? We need to get to 10.
You need 2 more.
Are we going Kyler Murray?
No.
Okay.
Not after that performance.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Are you going Lamar Jackson?
You know what?
Because right now he's in your top 10,
you know what?
dog.
Be fair. You got a game to win for your life. You want Lamar Jackson or you want Dak Prescott?
I want Lamar. Hold on, time out.
Wait, we're still not there. You need one more.
Time out.
Go ahead.
I might want Lamar, but it would be for his running ability more so than passing. That's number 1. And number 2, Lamar Jackson just won his first playoff game last year against Tennessee. Okay? That's 1.
That's the same amount of games that Dak Prescott has won, by the way.
Wait a minute. You're holding it against Dak Prescott. His playoff performance. What about Lamar Jackson's first 2 playoff performances?
Bad.
So I just going to say that.
Bad.
I'm just going to say that. You can't just say that.
Hold up. We're not done. Because right now he is still in your top 10.
And I got him 9, right?
No.
If you give me,
Lamar
Jackson, I got him 9.
You have him 9.
So
he's in your top 10.
He's not sure about 2 of them.
I'm going to give you 2.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give you 2.
Go ahead.
Life on the line.
Go ahead.
You think he's better than Cousins?
Hell yes.
All right.
Hell yeah. Hold on. I might disqualify you from this show right now. Did you just bring up Kirk Cousins?
Has Cousins won a playoff game on the road?
Oh, my God. Kirk Cousins?
Has he won a playoff game on the road?
Absolutely not.
Did Dak Prescott win a playoff game on the road?
No.
Come on, man. Beat Breeze in New Orleans.
Come on, man. It's football and team sport.
I'm not in love with Cousins either, but you're making Prescott out to be a little better than him.
Now you're just trying to force it. You have him at number 9.
Derek Carr?
No.
No.
Oh, come on now. You can't just automatically say, no, that's a debate.
Yes,
that's
I
close.
can.
That's close.
I watched the game just like you do.
What
I can say that.
he's thinking of people and marinating on this, and we'll give you time. We can
I thought I gave you
revisit this
two
later
good
in the
ones.
show. Where are you having him? So you have Burrow ahead of him. You have Herbert.
I got him top 10.
You have Rodgers. You have Mahomes ahead of him. Josh Allen. Do you have Matthew Stafford ahead of Dak?
Just now.
Okay.
Just now.
Just now,
What
and
about
he's ahead of him.
Lamar and Russell? What about Lamar and Russell?
Russell, yes, not Lamar. No.
What number do you? I forgot about. Good job on.
No, don't get me wrong. I would want Lamar because of his running ability. I'm just
Okay,
talking about
well, you guys we were splitting
Gotta
hairs
pass.
here.
Gotta pass.
You guys
Bottom
are,
line
gotta
is,
pass.
by the way, you're
bottom
both like
line
8 and 9
is,
right
he
now.
barely scratches.
Top
If he
10.
does,
Top 10.
barely.
Okay.
Barely.
Okay.
So
But you said that like
wait,
that.
wait,
pushing it, we put him at 10.
Hold up. Before we go to break, you think Mac Jones eventually passes him?
I'm not ready to say that. No.
Okay.
Not ready to say that.
Well,
I
he's
love
not
that.
totally
I'll tell you what,
ridiculous.
here's what I will tell you.
He's not, yeah, totally
Here's what I will
ridiculous.
tell you. You give me a quarterback, and I'm not putting him in the top 10. It's not fair. Well, you're giving me a quarterback for the next 5 years. Would I take Dak Prescott or Trevor Lawrence? I'm taking Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, I forgot about Trevor Lawrence.
If you're, I can't
But
put him down.
I don't even know what
that's what
Trevor
we doing?
Lawrence is because
That's
this
what we
season
doing?
He won a championship
That's
in
what we're
college.
doing?
I get that, but college is different than the pros.
He
I
beat
know he
Alabama.
was highly touted, but he didn't get a fair shake this season. We don't even know what Trevor Lawrence can do.
Well, since we doing that, guess what? Bryce Young out of Alabama in 5 years, he's gonna be special too.
Okay.
That's what we doing. That's what we doing now. We get the cat out of the scrap heap and elevating them.
You don't like Lawrence?
Stop it.
You don't like Lawrence as a
Gentlemen,
player?
work with me. Let's
love
take a break. Roll the bumps.
Well, there you
Roll the
go.
bumps.
You asked me a question.
Okay, now that the 1 hour down, that went by fast. 1 hour to go here on First Take. Stephen A. and Christopher Russo go at it whether Aaron Donald deserves to be in the conversation for greatest defensive player in NFL history. And don't miss when Christopher tells Stephen A. which fan base is even more nauseating than the Cowboys. I also don't know the answer to this, so I'm very excited. But first, Jay Will's here, and the Sixers certainly could have used James Harden last night. He is expected to be back after the All-Star break, dealing with that hamstring. Meanwhile, Boston came to town and just had their way with Philly. A 48-point loss, the largest of Doc Rivers' career. The C's getting hot, 3 straight wins by 30 points. But it did not come without a cost, losing Marcus Smart to an ankle sprain. Harden, like the player he was traded for, Ben Simmons, was introduced yesterday. Listen up.
It's a time where I needed to be, around the guys that I know that want to win and know that they are willing to do whatever it takes to win. And the structure here is unbelievable.
It's more than just wanting to win. Like everybody wants to win. You hear that every day. It's like what we said to that group. But if you just want to win and you just want to do it the way you've always done it, it's usually harder. If you want to win and figure out what's the best way for this group, because every group's different, then you have a great chance of being successful.
Jay Williams.
Molly.
Is there more pressure on Doc Rivers or James Harden now?
Doc Rivers. So, is James Harden one of the top 15 greatest players of all time? No, he's not. Did Doc Rivers get voted one of the top 15 greatest coaches of all time?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So let's go back in history here. With CP3 and Blake Griffin, Lob City, couldn't get it done. Couldn't get past a certain point in the playoffs. Every single year, that's all we talked about. Let's fast forward to Kawhi and Paul George. When that situation happened, when they were up 3-1 after they were a second seed in the Western Conference, they lose to the Denver Nuggets. You hear reports coming out of there about there was a lack of requisite leadership in the locker room to mesh personalities together. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, to a degree, in mutual consideration with Steve Ballmer, got him removed from the team, essentially, okay? He now comes to Philadelphia versus the Atlanta Hawks last year. Game 4. I know that Ben Simmons was a scapegoat. I know people naturally go back to, this guy didn't shoot the ball. They were up 18 points in Game 4. Lost that one on the road. Let me fast forward to Game 5 at home in Philly. They were up 26 points. So to all the people out there that want to say it's Ben Simmons' fault, I'm sitting there saying, why is Ben Simmons in the game? Let's talk about some of your rotations and some of the bench players that you decided to use instead of some of your other players in some critical moments of the game. There's a lot of questions around that. So with all those things being said, I know what James Harden is to a degree, If he never wins a championship, he's still going to be one of the most innovative offensive players the game has ever seen. He may not be a champion. You may remember him as a guy that left teams and didn't, maybe wasn't clutch, Hall of Famer. But I can tell you this, if they don't get a chance to win it this year, or if they don't get to the NBA Finals, I'm not sure Doc Rivers will be the coach next year. You got a guy like Mike D'Antoni who's looming around that people are also saying, well, here's going to be the best person to activate James Harden, who will be here for another 3 or 4 years after we sign him to a pretty max deal.
Okay.
First off, Doc should not be on the top 15 coaches list. How is John Cundler, who coached the Lakers in the 50s, who was on the team in the 50 years, won 4 titles? How is he not on the list? I know it's 1953 George Mikan, but Auerbach's on the list. How is he not on the list? And they got Doc Rivers on the list. He's won 1 championship, and he's lost 3 series when he had 3 games to 1 lead. So how Doc's on the list and not coming? I make no sense.
I am not about to argue with you about a coach from 1959.
He coached the Lakers.
Doing it. I'm not doing it.
Still, he was on the top 50.
We're giving him his flowers. I'm with you.
Very good.
I'm with you.
You got it.
I think the pressure.
I appreciate the history.
I wanted to throw that out there. I was dying to say it for a long time. I finally got a chance to say it.
Get it off your chest. Now let's get to 2022.
Doc Rivers does not have as much pressure as Harden. Right. Harden's left 2 franchises. Harden's got this reputation as one of the great players in the history of the NBA, leading scorer. I mean, I love Van Gundy. He's got him better than Jerry West. He's not better than Jerry West. All right, Harden has been we've gone through it already today. He's been very spotty in many big game scenarios. He's not going to Philadelphia. All right, taking over for a player who wasn't there this last 3 months, who did not play well in a big spot. They got Embiid. Philadelphia, you got a conference that's a little spotty right now. Milwaukee's a little vulnerable, even in the postseason. You know, obviously the Nets, who knows what's going on with Durant, and who knows what's going on with Irving at the end of the day with the vaccinations. They have to get to a final. And that's not going to be on Doc Rivers. This is his 2nd year. They have to get to a final. And Harden's the guy who's orchestrated himself out of Houston, orchestrated himself out of the Nets. Harden, who everybody wants to put him on this level. He's got a great center now. Go out there and win 3 playoff rounds in the Eastern Conference and get to a final. Much more pressure on Harden. Much more.
Let me chime in here, and before I answer this particular question, I want to veer left for something. I need an ISO shot with me on the camera right now, please. Let me say this, because I'm getting text messages from people in Ben Simmons' camp, okay, including family members. Let me be very, very clear. I'm a fair-minded brother. First Take is right here. It's live. It's unedited. It ain't even a 7-second delay. Anytime y'all want this seat, you are welcome to come here and explain for yourself. I'm not going to go back and forth with everybody about what it is about Ben Simmons or what it is. I'm not taking any definitive position. I'm happy to see the brother back and think I'm fantasizing about him playing because I think the Nets won the deal. And I think Ben Simmons is a guy, he can guard Giannis. He can guard James Harden. He guarded Trae Young. He can guard Jimmy Butler or Tyler Hero or whatever. Ben Simmons is legit, and I'm happy to see him back on the court. But in terms of debates about what he legitimately went through, the seat is right there. Y'all are welcome anytime. If y'all ain't willing to show up in the seat, there's going to come a point in time where I'm going to tell you to shut the hell up and stand down. Because you don't get to hide for 6 months. And I talk about Ben Simmons, I'm talking about his camp. You don't get to hide for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, now that everything is percolating, you want to dictate the narrative. Hell no, it ain't happening. Now, let me get back to James Harden and Doc Rivers. I disagree with you about Doc Rivers on this. First of all, I do think Doc Rivers belonged on that list. That's number one. Secondly, and more importantly, all your points are valid. I'm not dismissing any point that you made, not one of them, especially since nobody's lost more 3-1 leads. I don't even remember you mentioning that. Nobody's lost more 3-1 leads in the playoffs than Doc Rivers. We get that. Having said all of that, ain't nobody think about no Doc Rivers. This is about James Harden. You got to win. You got to win the East, okay? Because
I agree with you on that.
Because here's the deal. When we look at James Harden, this is a guy that once averaged 36 a game. This is a guy that was averaging 30 a night in his sleep for years under the same president of basketball operations, which is why, and then not only that, let me tell you something right now. There's more pressure on Daryl Morey than it is on Doc Rivers. You traded the farm. Now, why do I say that? I know Seth Curry is a role player. All right, even though I think he's better than that, by the way, Jay.
I agree.
I like what I'm seeing from him.
Yeah.
Andre Drummond, we keep forgetting. He ain't averaging 8 rebounds a game. But do you understand that if you put Andre Drummond on the court for 35, 40 minutes, he's good for 20 rebounds. He's good for 5 offensive rebounds a game. We talking about KD and Kyrie having second chance shots.
But more importantly than that, Jay, Mad Dog, the Brooklyn Nets got every need fulfilled. These people that's walking around here, Steven is dogging Daryl Morey. You don't know what the hell you talk about. And if Daryl Morey takes it that way, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because I love Daryl Morey. And I think he's an exceptional executive, even though there's been some questionable moves over the years. When you have his resume, you ought to be profoundly respected. Agreed. I love Daryl Morey. I know him. I just disagreed with all he gave up for this deal. And let me explain why. I understand at this deadline, you had to do that. What I'm saying is he walked into the Philly job essentially saying, I'm going to get you James Harden. And he was so transparent that Sean Marks got to sit back and say, well, what you going to offer? And wait and wait and wait and milk and milk and milk. That's what I'm holding up against Daryl Morey. Because what you ended up doing is Brooklyn needed an elite defender. They got it. They needed another playmaker. They got it. They needed another shooter in case Joe Harris don't come back. They got it. They needed a rebounder and some girth on their front line. They got it. To join KD and Kyrie. So when y'all look at Harden, we gave all of that up for you after the way you departed Houston, now that you departed Brooklyn, and you going to show up in Philly with Joel Embiid, and you going to go home early? Oh, hell no. No. Nobody. I'm not saying that Doc Rivers don't have some pressure. I'm saying nobody at this moment in time, and you know how tight I am with Philly in terms of the city I worked in for 17 years. Yes. Nobody is talking about Doc Rivers. Everyone's talking about James Harden. Well, wait a second. Everybody.
All right, so you define pressure by what everybody's talking about.
Well, where does the pressure come from?
I can explain.
Okay.
I define pressure by who can lose their damn job. You're talking about a top 15 greatest coach of all time being potentially fired after 1 year with Joel Embiid and James Harden. If they can't get it done, how much is James Harden going to end up signing for?
Hold on.
$250+ million?
Oh,
stop, Stephen A. Daryl Morey picked this dude up to fix space aircraft off the FBO off a private plane.
If Harden don't show up and he still is in line to get $200 million, Daryl Morey better go live back in Houston.
Okay.
He can't walk the streets of Philadelphia if he does that.
Daryl Morey's going to be there for a while, y'all. Okay?
Daryl
Morey ain't going, regardless of whether it was yesterday or now, he's going to be there for a while.
We agree.
James Harden's going to be there for more than 1 year.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if he doesn't play to the level that we know he can play.
Just saying.
He going to get the bag.
I think he's going to get a bag.
He's going to get the bag.
You know why I think he's going to get the bag? Because I think Harden's going to show out.
Okay.
I believe in Harden. I believe in Harden.
My thing, though,
but he got to show out.
If there's a hiccup and they don't get to the Eastern Conference Finals or they don't get to the NBA Finals and it's not meshing with Joel Embiid or James Harden, that's going to come back on Doc Rivers at the end of the day. That's why that's more pressure for me. Because he could lose his job when it's all said and done within a year.
Get another one. It doesn't matter. He made enough.
That's pressure, though.
I'm just saying, Harden's under some pressure, bro.
Oh, I agree with you.
Everybody watching Harden.
He has a bad game 7.
I agree.
The Bucks, and he throws up those threes at a 2 for 13 clip in that city. He's in big trouble.
Got 2 isolation players who don't really pick and roll. Yeah. How do they work? That's the question. Doc Rivers is the only one that can answer that, Molly.
Good stuff, guys.
Thank you.
No, seriously, that's a tough one on both of them. We'll keep it rolling here. Aaron Donald's resume is Chris Russo.
Why?
Oh, come on, Steven.
Why?
You're better than that. That's a little strong.
Oh, go ahead. I'm listening.
Bob Lilly.
I'm listening.
Let's start with the defensive lineman.
Bob Lilly.
Bob Lilly. Randy White.
Randy White?
Randy White.
For the Dallas Cowboys.
He was an MVP of the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Mean Joe Green. And remember, in those days, they played every play. There was not a rotation system where where Aaron Donald gets a couple of plays off to regroup. Yeah. I mean, Mean Joe Green were 40 players in the NFL, 40 players per team. He's out there every single play. Randy White, every single play. Bob Lilly, 7 straight time All-Pro, out there every single play. And he's a defensive lineman. We all know Donald's great. We all understand he's one of the great defensive linemen in the history of the NFL. But, boy, to put him up there with LT and even Ray Lewis to a certain degree, but to put him up there with LT, Lawrence Taylor, who changed the way offenses dictated how they were going to run their stuff.
Okay.
Washington did 3 tight ends on that side. So, in other words, they could block them in the 2 games. Offensive left tackles cheated to get the extra step. So, when LT rushed the quarterback, they sort of went diagonal at him, so they had the extra step to be able to block him.
Okay. You got me there. Randy White was big time and MVP in the Super Bowl, but at the same time, excuse me, when I think about the Dallas Cowboys, I think about Ed Too Tall Jones and cats like that. You want to bring up my Steelers? Excuse me, mind your manners, sir. It ain't just about Mean Joe Green. It's about L.C. Greenwood as well. Let's not forget a cat like that. Let's not forget the linebackers, both Jack Ham and Jack Lambert. Let's not forget the secondary, Mel Blunt. Don't talk to me about the Steelers. I've seen them all. And by the way, I was born and raised in New York City, born in the Bronx, raised in Queens. My sister Linda, a diehard Giants fan like Molly Q. Okay? This is what we did. We watched Lawrence Taylor. That was religion in our household. 142 career sacks in his career in 12 seasons or so, 81 and 93. By the way, had a season where he had 20 and a half sacks one season. What did Aaron Donald do in his first 8 years? He had a season where he had 20 and a half sacks. He's a defensive player of the year 3 times. And by the way, let's also remember this. Times were easier back then for defensive players. The rules have compromised defensive players in today's NFL. You can get penalized for passing gas. I mean, they'll give you a penalty for everything. They won't let you play. That's what Aaron Donald has to work against. He's consistently doubled and triple teamed, and we look at the modern day athlete, and universally they will tell you how great he is. And last but not least, I never once said he was better than Lawrence Taylor. I would never be so blasphemous as to say a defensive player is better than Lawrence Taylor. I said, ask Bill Belichick, because make sure to draw that distinction. But if we're looking at the modern era and what this brother brings to the table and the man-child that he is amongst boys. Excuse me. Well, then I'm talking about one of the greatest. Is he one of the greatest? Is he one of the greatest ever?
He's top 10, top 12?
Top 10, top 12.
I gave you 5 defensive linemen.
Excuse me.
And the Bengal offensive line was so bad, I could have rushed the quarterback on Sunday afternoon.
Listen, Aaron Donald didn't need the Cincinnati Bengals to validate his greatness.
I understand that, but the Super Bowl validated his greatness.
He's been doing it against everybody all year long, or throughout his career. I
hate to knock him. He's a great player, but you got him on this incredible level that he doesn't deserve to be at.
How do you know that? How do you know that? Look at him. Listen.
You got Mean Joe Green? Are you kidding me? Mean Joe Green.
Excuse me. Mean Joe Green was the man. I'm a Steeler lover. I get all of that. But Aaron Donald is a man amongst boys. He's something to behold. And, listen, you got a lot of great dudes back in the day with Mean Joe Green, L.C. Green, with Ed Too Tall Jones and others. I get all of that. All I'm saying is Aaron Donald is in that conversation with everybody. You can't say...
You said the other day he's the best defensive player of all time. Now he's in the conversation. Which one is it?
Excuse me. No. Lawrence Taylor. I still got to stand down to that one. Outside of that...
Ray Lewis?
Tell me somebody...
Is he in the same conversation as Lawrence?
No, absolutely not.
He's not. Okay,
no way.
Fine. I'm not going to argue with you about that. But anybody else, how can we definitively dismiss him? Well, now you said defensive lineman. You could bring in primetime Deion Sanders as a corner. You could bring in Ray Lewis as a linebacker. You could bring in. You'll like to go back to the days of Mike Ditka and all of those guys. Even though I say Mike Singletary, I mean I bring.
I was actually thinking about Dick Lane, but I didn't bring that one.
I know those names too. I watched the game.
I was thinking about Dick.
There you go.
You know, in the '70s Super Bowl when Dallas played Baltimore, do you know that the Colts offensive lineman took himself out of the game because they couldn't block Bob Lilly?
It's impressive.
Took him out. Oh, he said, I can't block him. Get me out of here.
History lesson, take 2.
May I ask a question?
Back in class?
Was the level of competition back then what it is now?
Hold on now. You just saw the Bengal offensive line. You and I can play guard on that offensive line. It's the worst offensive line I've ever seen in the Super Bowl. 9 sacks in Tennessee. 6 sacks the other day in the second half. Take it easy about the Cincinnati offensive line.
Please, I know there's trash. The point that I'm
making. By the way, I have news on Cincinnati when you guys are done.
Super Bowl afternoon does not define the quality of play or lack thereof of an era. When you look at the sport now, is the level of competition now greater than it was back then when Bob Lilly was playing? And by the year, what year was Bob Lilly playing again?
1962.
Oh my God!
He was great though.
I wasn't born, man.
Yes, you were. You're not that young.
I was born in 1967.
Oh, okay.
I was born in 1967.
Ice ball. Can we end it this way? Can we say that Aaron Donald is top 10 and be happy?
No, I'm not happy with that.
Top 10 all time, you're saying?
Defensively.
Top 5.
No.
Top 5.
No. Not yet.
Not 5.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, Mad Dog.
How about the coach who went against him in the Super Bowl? That would be Zach Taylor, just 38 years old. He was rewarded, signing an extension through 2026.
He deserves
Gentlemen,
it.
do we like this decision? They won the AFC North, obviously.
I didn't like the last 3 plays. Some of the worst plays I've ever seen in my life when they had the ball at midfield. The bomb and the 2 running play. I couldn't stand that. But yes, he deserves a contract extension. He's good with Burrow. No issues whatsoever.
He does. Listen, I love Marvin Lewis as a person. I think Marvin Lewis deserves another shot as a head coach in the National Football League. But he coached the Cincinnati Bengals for 16 years. Went to the playoffs 7 times.
0 for 7.
And did not win a single playoff game. The coach that just takes you to the Super Bowl, regardless of their struggles and his overall record in those 3 years.
Right.
Clearly, him with Joe Burrow and those boys, and Jamar Chase and those boys have some level of chemistry. What they were able to do, Zach Taylor deserves the extension. I'm happy for him. He deserves it.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Absolutely. All right, we'll keep it rolling here, fellas. Are the Lakers better off? I can't believe trying to.
Listen, you know, today is Mad Dog Russo's first day. He's going to be on with us most Wednesdays. I couldn't be happier to have my buddy here with me. I used to work at Mad Dog Radio with Sirius XM. He was always great to me, and it's beautiful to have him here. He's got his show, Mad Dog, on Mad Dog Sports Radio, 3 to 6 p.m. every weekday on Sirius XM. Mad Dog Radio.
Mad Dog Unleashed.
Plus, he's got high heat, Mr. Baseball himself.
Yep.
And don't think for one second that just because you're on first take that all of a sudden you're going to get away from some of the baseball.
I wanted to do it today, but I got no
some
chance.
Of the baseball
Go ahead.
nonsense.
Actually, there's some baseball stories we could have discussed.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
My dad, God rest his soul, was a huge baseball fan. You understand? Maybe wouldn't allow me to watch the Mets until I turned 18. I never watched the Mets in my life, and I lived 15 minutes away from Shea Stadium.
Really?
Die-hard Yankee fan.
Yes,
and I know
pinstripes.
that you are a Giants fan.
Yeah,
Don't
Giants.
think you're going to get away with some of the dribble that you spew on high heat on the Major League Baseball Network. So I know about that too, okay? So you got Mad Dog Radio, and you got high heat on the MLB Network. I will be watching and I will be listening for the sole express purpose of taking you down on Wednesdays when you should.
So you're going to use that against me on this
all
show?
of it. All of it.
Mad Dog,
Is that full?
Mad, this is what you do. You
What I
turn on
do.
ESPN 7 tonight, and then you watch Stephen A, and then
That's right.
you can do your homework.
I got to find some stuff on him.
Yeah.
Though he and I are good friends.
Oh, just call me.
Yeah,
I
you'll
got
give me
you.
plenty.
I'm your girl.
And he invited me for this little Wednesday soiree, so he gets all the credit for that. Give him credit. All right, go ahead. Enough of that.
Okay.
What's
Yes, let's
next?
do it. But 90 minutes in, it's been a lot of fun. All right, it's no secret this season Showtime has been no time. LeBron built a super team of his super talented friends over the offseason with a lot of people questioning if it would work. Are they too old? Right now, it seems like it's not working, and Stephen A is looking forward. And Saturday on NBA Countdown proposed an interesting path, should I call it, for the Lakers?
Yeah, go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the Lakers beyond this season. They have to trade Anthony Davis. You don't keep Anthony Davis. Here's why. Because his value is his value as a player, but durability is a question mark at age 28. As you get older, those durability questions are going to be more prevalent. So when you think about his stock being as high as it's going to be, isn't that right now? And if you're looking at LeBron James and the fact that you need additional pieces, I got to say, Anthony Davis is the guy that you could get a lot for in return potentially because of his potential.
Christopher Mad Dog Russo, do the Lakers need to move on from Anthony Davis?
Stephen A is right about one thing. He's always hurt. He's always hurt. And he was hurt with New Orleans a lot, too. So he's always hurt, and you're paying him a fortune, and he's a little older, and you got to wonder about his long-term. I agree with that. Fair. But from a talent perspective, they did win a championship a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
From a talent perspective, you cannot trade him. All right? If he's healthy and raring to go, I could make the argument he's a top 5 player in the NBA. With Giannis, Durant, I still have to put LeBron there. I can make the argument he's top 5 player when he's healthy and raring to go. Now, again, the last year and a half, last year he got banged up, hurt in the Phoenix series. I understand that. This year he misses 4 weeks. He seems to have these calf issues constantly. All fair. But if you're trying to win a championship, which they are year to year, you cannot trade him. You got to keep your fingers crossed. You have to hope that somehow he's going to be able to get you through 60 regular season games and be raring to go in the postseason, because their goal is not to be the 8th seed and rebuild for the future.
No,
it's Los Angeles. Yeah. Their goal is to have a chance to win titles year in and year out. And because of that, you got to keep your fingers crossed, hope he's healthy, and not trade him.
Stephen A., I thought you would have said Westbrook. Trade Westbrook, not him.
Well, you can't give him away. He's owed $47 million for next year. Maybe at some point over the summer or next year, as he's approaching the last year of his deal, you're willing to take on that salary just to get it off your cap at the end of next season. That's the only reason at this point why somebody will want Westbrook for that kind of money. And I'm not trying to throw any shade on Westbrook. I believe in Westbrook. I think he's being misused. And I think that he has to come to the conclusion he just can't shoot perimeter shots on a consistent basis. He can have a good night here or there. He can get a little streaky. But for the most part, Westbrook is not a shooter. He's a baller. He can attack the basket with vigor. If I was him, I get the ball, I attack constantly, or I drive to kick it out. That's the only thing that I do. I don't think about shooting jump shots if I'm Russell Westbrook, okay? Particularly in tight games, because that's just not his forte, and it's been proven time and time and time again. If Westbrook had a jump shot, we'd be talking about him as one of the greatest players we've ever seen
100%.
in our lives, because he has everything else, but the jump shot is not there. To get to Anthony Davis, first of all, I'm not a fool here. We know that the Lakers can't move Anthony Davis unless Anthony Davis agrees to it. He has to agree to being moved. That's the kind of deal he's got with the Lakers. We understand that. Having said all of that, I'm not throwing any shade on him in terms of his talent. I think that Anthony Davis is an all-world talent when healthy. Now, I don't like the fact that he goes up against a Greek Freak and gets completely annihilated, where the Greek Freak drops 44 on him, hitting 17 to 20 shots, and Anthony Davis has barely an answer for it. If there's one person that is supposed to be able to deal with the Greek Freak other than Embiid, it's supposed to be Anthony Davis.
Can I say one thing real quick? Greek Freak last night, 50 on 21 shots. I know it's against the Pacers, but still.
But I'm just saying, you going up against Anthony Davis, and Doggy will appreciate this, the personal pride. You know,
Fair.
I mean, this is the Greek Freak here. He's coming into the house. You understand?
Play better.
So, I mean, in L.A., at the Staples Center.
Yeah, play better.
You are supposed to step up and answer that call.
Okay, so they deal
Anthony Davis.
How's this playing
Here's
out?
My deal.
What do they need to get?
Here's my point. You've lost Brandon Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
You've lost Lonzo Ball. You've lost Kyle Kuzma, the Montrezl Harrells of the world, and others. You think about the multitude of pieces that the Los Angeles Lakers, and it wasn't all for Anthony Davis. Once it was Anthony Davis, but the year after that, they gave up additional pieces. If you're going to look like this, where you going? We're talking about the Lakers struggling to get to the play-in game. Where you going? So if that is the case,
right,
you have to accept, because Golden State's not going anywhere. Phoenix is not going anywhere. Memphis has arrived.
Good team.
Memphis has arrived. Utah can't be summarily dismissed. And when you look at the Clippers, just 2 games under 500, just imagine for a second if Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were healthy. So if I'm the Lakers, I see 5 teams that are better than me, even if LeBron James and Anthony Davis are playing because of the parts that I have around them.
Yeah, timeout. But is that because of injury and not talent why they are where they are?
I will say this to you. Anthony Davis and LeBron James being injured, if they weren't injured, I think they wouldn't be in the play-in, but I don't think they'd be better than the 4 teams I mentioned. Okay. And so because of that, now we have to look at the rest of the team. And even though people say improve the parts around you, well, guess what? If you got LeBron James at age 37 under contract and you got Anthony Davis under contract and you got Russell Westbrook there, you got to figure out a way to look at life beyond LeBron James. You already got a chip. Right. And I got to get better parts around him. So the one player with extreme value that somebody would be willing to take a chance on because he's only 28 years old.
He's not wrong.
Anthony Davis.
Hey, he's not wrong. They're not going to do it.
Right.
They're not. But he's not. But Stevie makes some good points. He's 100. And the problem with Westbrook is he needs to be on a team where he commands the ball constantly and he go win his 43 games. He needs to be on a team where he's the big star and he can do what he wants and he can go 44 and 38 every year and not win in the postseason. That's what Westbrook needs.
I know you're a legend. This is day one, and you already get to call him Stevie. I mean, I've been here for 6 years. I don't get to call you Stevie.
Molly.
Stevie,
Mad Dog Russo
I'm always full TV name.
He's been calling me Stevie every year for years, and he talks to me like I'm straight out of high school.
Well, I just want you to
laugh.
know
It's
you opened the door.
Stevie A.
So listen, when you hear Stevie. Stevie sometimes. I don't want a double standard. You might start hear that coming out.
No. Other people call me, they say Stephen A, they say S.A. And then he calls me Stevie.
Yeah, okay.
Him and my man Gary Howard, Stevie A.
And Molly Karam.
Stevie A.
Coming up,
Don't
guys,
do it.
the
Don't do it.
Lakers and
Don't
the
do it.
Dodgers.